Hi everyone, how's it going? Oh, I look awful. Oh my god. I really do not look good at all. I look all haggard and shit. I actually wanted to come online to address something that I heard this morning actually as I was getting up. But before I do that, first thing I want to do is I want to shout out Richard Lovelace Sr., who is another targeted individual. There are photographs of his brain scan online which show the extensive brain damage that, oh God, it's hard to put into words. There's extensive brain damage due to the electronic weapons that have been fired on his head. And recently, have been some tumors that have come back at the top of his head due to the directed energy weaponry and the EMF weaponry. So shout out to Richard Lovelace Sr. His Facebook is public, so you can see all his wounds on there. And again, cancers in random parts of the body, they don't just show up because of genetics. If you have directed energy weapons or magnetic frequencies and they're fired on certain parts of the body, in some people, cancers will come up on those parts of the body. So shout out to him. My condolences for everything that he's going through. But once again, Havana syndrome is very, very real. And it's not something to be trivialized, taken for granted, laughed at, or denied. It's real. End of story. Okay. Second thing I want to get into before I get into the main subject of this particular video. First of all, I want to ask, well, first of all was Richard Lovelace Sr. The second thing that I wanted to ask was, how are my fellow TIs doing? How are you guys getting along? How are you guys coping? I know it's not been easy on any of us. It's just been hell as usual. Well, as for me, I'm going through a quiet period at the moment. I've been going through this quiet period after the subject access request stuff. It's been real quiet since then, even though there has been some street theater here and there. Yeah, so let me know in the comments how you guys are doing. Let me know how you're coping. It's too hot to think right now. My apologies. Let me know how you guys are doing. Now I'm coming into the main subject of the video. Yesterday, I had a discussion with a relative of my family, and I talked to them about the attempted grooming that I went through as a child and as a teenager, especially as like a preteen and a teenager. There were attempts to groom me. There were attempts to groom me when I was younger that I relentlessly fought off and repeatedly fought off. And I was talking to a relative of mine about this, and I pointed out to them that even though I might not have hurt other people in the same way, I have hurt other people as a result of the trauma that I've been through. So it's, I was explaining to them that, the hurt that I went through as a result of the attempted grooming and the subsequent lack of support from the adults around me, it was a lot for me to take, and it had a really big effect on my mental health. I was really, really sick for a long time, which my neighbors made worse, of course, due to gang stalking. Not only due to gang stalking, but also due to ignorance as well. So I went through a lot. And I explained to this member of my family that it wasn't, when you hurt someone, it's not just them that you hurt. You also hurt the people that have to take care of them because you victimized them. You've also hurt potentially other people as well, because that victim is going to need a place to transfer their anger. And if their brain is too fried by all the abuse that you subjected them to, then there is a chance that they could hurt someone else in different ways, but they could hurt someone else due to the hurt that you inflicted on them. So it's like, it doesn't just hurt you. When you hurt another person, this is why I'm so careful. I try to be so careful these days about who I speak to and how I speak to them. I try to be really, really careful. Everyone knows my temper. Everybody knows how I go off on perps. But when it comes to people who are not perps, when it comes to everyday life, I try to be as civil as possible, no matter what's going on, because the truth of the matter is that when you hurt someone else, you're not just hurting that person. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? You're not just hurting them. You know, you're hurting yourself and them and the people that have to pick up the pieces after you fucked with them. It's like it's just a never-ending thing. And, you know, it's only now, like when I'm nearing 40, that I'm starting to kind of really, really monitor what the fuck I do and what the fuck I say to people. But that's for another time. So I was talking to them about that. I was talking to them about the attempted grooming and everything else. And I was talking to them about how it affected my love life and how it affected my relationships with people because of all the abuse that I went through. Now, the reason why this is relevant is because this morning, a perp was engaging in directed conversation, because usually when they're instructed to say something stupid, they have to go out, take the phone call outside so that I can't hear what's going on, then come back and engage in directed conversation about whatever it is that I was talking about with regards to my attempted grooming. So the usual shit was heard: weirdo, liar, all that type of shit. Now, ordinarily, I'd get on the perp for saying these things, even if they were essentially told to say it. Usually I would get on them for saying that shit. But today I'm going to take a different tactic. Truth be told, I only really address the perps if there's something else important going on in my life and I need an emotional punching bag. Essentially, I treat the perps exactly how they treat me. If there's shit going wrong in my life and I need somebody to take it out on, if somebody that I love is being insensitive or stupid and I need somebody to take it out on, the perps are there because they're paid to torture me anyway, and they're paid to facilitate in my torture and my murder in the first place. That's what the perps are there for. For me, they are an emotional punching bag. Just like I am for the perps. The perps serve the same function to me as I do to them. They're an emotional punching bag that I get exposure for. And that's it. So I'm sure when I get bored or when I don't have anybody else to take my shit out on, the perps will be there, just like I've been there for them to take their shit out on for the last 2 years. But today I'm going to change tactic, because I feel like vulnerable people have been fighting enough with each other on the account of MI5 and the National Crime Agency and the secret police and God knows who, you know, the Royal Navy. And so basically it's MI5, the Royal Navy, the National Crime Agency and the secret police and the criminal networks that they ally themselves with in order to genocide the public. They are the people that I am going to be addressing today. I'm not going to be addressing the perps, because you and I both know, I'm talking to the main abusers now, I'm talking to the handlers and all the high up people. You and I both know that the reason why the perps are there and the reason you have them there is to be weaponized irritants. And because you have no conscience, and because you have no standards, and because you have no pride, you have no dignity, you have no self-worth, you get people who are already vulnerable, who are addicts, who are mentally vulnerable themselves, to weaponize their own illnesses against somebody else. Because you ain't got no fucking backbone. Because you're a malicious, sociopathic, or psychopathic, or narcissistic cunts. You got no standards. You got no heart. You got no backbone. So no, I'm not going to be addressing your perps. I'm going to be addressing you. Now, quite frankly, right, I don't know where you get this idea that I'm a weirdo of some sort. I don't know where you get this idea, because I don't like trafficking children. I don't like deciding who lives and who dies based upon what interest they bring to me. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in that. Evidently, you and I have very different ideas of what weird is. Weird is not maladaptive daydreaming. Weird is not borderline personality disorder. Weird is not being, surviving trauma that has been impacted on them, not only by their own family and their schooling, but also everyone else around them. To me, that's not weird. To me, navigating your emotions and trying your very best to be a good person or to be a decent person, I don't find that weird. Maybe you find that weird, but evidently you and me are very different people morally. Because what I find spooky is the fact that you have millions of people's data. How many of those people are children? And how many of those children have had attempted grooming how many of those children have had people attempting to groom them like me? How many of those children have been abused like I was when I was a kid? How many of those children have been through even worse than what I've been through? Surprisingly common. How many of those children have been killed? How many of those children have been murdered? You have data on these children. You have surveillance everywhere. There's no fucking way that when certain children get killed, you don't know who the fuck's responsible. How many people are dying every day while you're coming after us and making our lives a misery over what? Of course you would need to defend yourself through your perp and try to call me a liar. Of course you would need to do that. Did I hurt your feelings? Did I call out one of your handlers whilst I was talking to a relative yesterday? Is that what I did? Did I call out one of your handlers? Is that why you were trying to engage in direct conversation against me this morning through your perp talking about weirdos and liars? Did I strike a nerve? Did I attack one of your handlers? Is that why you're coming after me like that? Is that why you felt the need to use another vulnerable person to try to call me a fucking liar? Is that why you felt the fucking need to do that? Because you know that you hired that particular person to come in and infiltrate my family and try to split my family by attempting to groom me? Huh? Speak up, I can't hear you. Speak up, I can't fucking hear you. You know there are members in my family who are engineers, in my blood family who are engineers. And you know you got distant cousins who have been in the military. Remember, directed energy weaponry? The handling of subjects used for these experiments? Military. Is that what you're calling me a liar about? Did I call out one of your fucking handlers? Is that what you've got a gripe about? Is that what's going on? In fact, how many handlers have you sent into my life? How many handlers have you sent into my life while you're using perp to try and get a rise out of me? You see, there's one thing that I can say about the perps. I don't like these cunts. I don't like them at all. But one thing I can say about them is that at least they have some shred of humanity. And they have some shred of morality. And the only reason why they're doing this is because they're weak and desperate. Because you are feeding that weakness. And you are feeding that desperation every single opportunity you get. And you tell them to say and do dumb, foul shit. Let me explain something to you. I know that you and I'm talking to MI5 and all these bigger organizations now because I know they're watching me. I know that you and I have very different morals. And you know that you and I have very different morals. You know that from my phone calls. You know that from my self-conversations. You know that from the surveillance that you've got on me unlawfully. We have very different morals. And I know that. And you know that. You're spying on millions of people. You've been spying on millions of people. And not only that, selling our data off to the US. Now, I could be wrong, but I think traitors do that, don't they? I think traitors do that. And then on top of that, I talked about the trafficking of children already, didn't I? I talked about that. There's so much to unpack there. Like you attacking pregnant women and fetuses with directed energy weaponry and electromagnetic frequencies and acoustic weaponry. We haven't even talked about that, have we? We haven't talked about the fact that you are firing weapons on children's private parts when they're only babies. We haven't talked about that either, have we? We haven't talked about the fact that you are creating surveillance that doesn't even need to go inside somebody's building in order to spy on them. And that's not to mention this camera right here, this camera on my laptop, that's watching us every single time it's on. You've definitely got information from that as well. Don't act like you don't. You see, you don't find that weird, but you find it weird that I talk about one of your handlers. That's how I know you're full of shit. How many people has your organization already killed simply for wanting their human rights? Simply for disagreeing with the way that you do things? Your ego is so fucking easily bruised. You have literally put millions of people on a fucking list to be genocided off. That's how bruised your ego is. You can gang stalk me for several lifetimes. My ego will never be bruised on that level. Never, ever. Of course I'm weird to you. Of course I'm weird to you. My morals don't sit like that. I don't feel like genociding people just because they disagree with me. And don't get me wrong, I've had dark feelings and dark emotions, but imagine thinking that somebody saying something bad about you and exposing your own tea is in anywhere near the same as directed energy weapon torture on somebody's body or constant psyops torture. Imagine you thinking that your hurt feelings is anywhere near on the same level as that. Imagine the delusion that it takes. Imagine how brittle your ego has to be. Weirdo. Oh, Lord of mercy. I'm just toying with you at this point. I'm toying with you at this point. You see, every single time you survey me, do you see my files while you're doing that? Where the fuck are my files? That's what I want to know. What kind of files have you got on people? And what the fuck are you doing with those files? Why is it that everybody else has seen files on me apart from me? Why is that? What's going on there? What's going on there? And what are you doing about your handler? What are you doing about your handler? How do we know that your handler hasn't hurt your own children in the same way that they attempted to hurt me? Because we all know you like handlers with a breeder fetish, don't you? They make efficient traffickers. They make efficient pimps. You know I'm toying with you at this point. Because I can. Where the fuck are my files? If you want me to know that how much of a weirdo I am, show me my files. Unredacted. Thank you very much. Give me the fucking files I asked for, and we can have a conversation about all my weirdness, about all my strangeness, because we know we know what you're really trying to say. We know what you're really trying to say, but you know, because of everything that you've done, you can't go around making wild accusations in the same way that you used to. You can't do that anymore, because then you'd expose yourselves. All the wild accusations that you try to label with other TIs with, you can't fucking do that with me. You can't do that with me. And if you could, then all you do is bring attention to yourselves. And I know you don't want that. I know you don't want that. I know you like to keep everything low key. The amount of people that have been essayed, R'd, that you know about and you ain't done shit about. You know who the perpetrators are as well. It's right there in the files. You didn't do jack shit about it. In fact, you probably hired their abusers on top of that, because that's what the fuck you do. You really need to leave these people alone. You need to leave vulnerable people alone, period. You need to stop exposing yourselves for the crazy, control freak degenerates that you really are. If you want to be malicious with pride, with backbone. But stop protecting fucking handlers and wannabe pimps. What the fuck is wrong with you? You hear somebody talking about their sexual trauma, and the first thing that you think to do is accuse them of lying and use another vulnerable person, one that's probably been abused themselves, in order to do it. Ain't you got no pride? Ain't you got no shame? Ain't you got no dignity? The fuck's wrong with you? Are you desperate? Oh yeah, no, you are. Forget it. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, we all know you ain't got no dignity. It's fine. It's fine. It's cool. It's cool. You're literally killing people. You're literally killing people with the weapons that you're using. And you're literally letting sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse slide. I'm the weirdo though. Okay, cool. Cool. And the horrible thing is that all this genocide that I'm talking about, like, that's the least of what you're doing. You are literally so fucking foul. That's the least of it. Now, I have to go. I think I've cussed them out enough. I feel like I've cussed out all the big wigs enough. And like I said, I wasn't going to address the perps anyway, so there was no point in the perps watching my video, because I was never going to address them. So, MI5, National Crime Agency, Secret Police, run me my fucking files. Let's not do this. Let's not do this. Because it will just end with you just being desperate again. Just give me my files, unredacted. Let's end this. Let's end this. It's getting embarrassing. Okay? And tell your handler I said hi. Tell them hi. And if you've got any evidence of their attempted grooming, well, let it be known, because I know you got it. So anyway, that's my diatribe over. That's my roasting session over. I don't think I did very well. There's a lot more I could have said, but I'll leave it here. So I will talk to you guys later. Peace and blessings. And MI5, run me my fucking files. I'm not interested in this bullshit. Freemasons, run me my fucking files. I'm not interested in your bullshit. I'm not interested in what you have to say. Run me my files. Okay? Peace and blessings. Take care. Bye-bye.